What's good? How y'all doing this afternoon? Welcome back to the Dun's Favor on your boy the Dun here on Forever I Love Atlanta Sports Podcast. And today I brought on Aaron Freeman from Locked On Falcons. How you doing, man? Let everybody know who you are, where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. People can check me out daily, 5 days a week on Locked On Falcons podcast, and you can check me out on Twitter at FalcFans.
Appreciate you joining me, man. Like I said before, man, anybody is always welcome to come on here and talk. Falcons football, United, Hawks, Braves, Bulldogs, Tech, whatever. We don't stray away from anybody around here. So appreciate you, man. If y'all new to the channel, y'all already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out with Atlanta Sports Fanatics, and hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast. All right. Now, let's get into the topic of, let's address the elephant in the room. And first off, I don't know what's going on Facebook today. Like, I can't even share my stuff. But let's talk about quarterback situation. Give me your thoughts on, what you think what the Falcons are going to end up doing this offseason.
I think they're going to wind up taking a quarterback. I don't know how high they're going to take a quarterback, if it's going to be first round, second round. I still think it's likely that they'll take one first round, but we'll have to sort of see. It's going to depend on what the team does with its evaluation of the players at the top of the draft. It depends on how the board goes. We kind of know the quarterback's going to go number one. We don't really know what's going to happen after that point, because all the talk is with the Jets picking number two that they like Sam Darnold. There's talk of Deshaun Watson being on the move. There's talk of Matt Stafford being on the move. There's talk of Aaron Rodgers may want out of Green Bay. So a lot of stuff has to happen over the next several weeks, which will certainly play a factor into that. But for me, looking at the Falcons quarterback situation, I remember putting up a poll on Twitter, the day after Dan Quinn got fired, and asking people what they thought about sort of, the Falcons quarterback situation involving Matt Ryan moving forward. And I basically put it at like three stages of sort of people thinking like the Falcons are good with Matt Ryan, which was stage one. Stage two was the Falcons are good with Matt Ryan, but they need to sort of plan for the future and get their guy, their new franchise quarterback, to take over from Matt Ryan down the road. And that was stage two. And stage three was they need to just basically turn the page on Matt Ryan. And I put out that poll in October, and about 60% of the people were at stage two, 20% were at stage one, and 20% were at stage three. Then I put out the poll at the end of the season, and it was about 30% at stage one, still about 60% at stage two, and about 10% at stage three. Now, not as many people voted at the end of the season as they did at the beginning of the season. For me, in October, I was like kind of at between stage one and two. Like I was like moving towards stage two. And by the end of the season, for me personally, I was kind of at stage two, where I think Matt Ryan's a solid player for the Falcons, but I do think they need to start moving and looking towards the future now that they have a new regime here that isn't necessarily going to be hamstrung to a certain extent by trying to win with, the Dan Quinn and Mike Smith and Dimitroff talent. They can sort of build their own team. And I think that kind of starts with getting a quarterback.
Okay. So I've been hearing this. Same thing you saying is that everybody saying this. All right. Why are people saying since a new regime is coming to town that they're going to draft their own quarterback? Dude, now, we seen this before, all right? We seen that new regimes come in and they keep the quarterback, all right? We seen this happen with Indianapolis a few years ago. They hired them a new head coach, Frank Reich, brought in a new GM. And they could have ended up drafting the quarterback, but they did not. They drafted Quentin Nelson out of Notre Dame. And they kept Andrew Luck. And when Andrew Luck retired, they still could have drafted them a quarterback in 2020 draft, but they did not. Right?
Okay.
And, they brought in older Phillip Rivers. But what we've been doing, what I've been researching on, you brought in a guy like Terry Fortnite. All right. Now, he's been with the Saints for 16 years before arriving here in Atlanta. All right. Now, during that time, have he ever witnessed a rebuild?
In New Orleans?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. So that's one. Two, Arthur Smith coming in from Tennessee. Now, yes, he's been with the Titans organization since 2011. He was a positional coach all the way up to LaFleur left in 2018. 2019, he became the OC. All right. Now, Marcus Mariota was still young. I think he was still under his rookie deal, I believe. And they brought in Ryan Tannehill. All right. They knew Mariota didn't perform well, so he benched him in 2019. And he brought in, Mariota wasn't doing good in 2019. So he benched Mariota and played Tannehill. Tannehill was serviceable enough for them, getting them to the AFC Championship game in 2019. And they didn't draft a quarterback in 2020. And they pretty much played off the strengths of Ryan Tannehill and their offense. What I'm trying to present to everybody is I just don't see we're picking a quarterback in the first round. It just doesn't make any sense. You look at the other side of the ball, you know good and well, and we all as content creators, Aaron Freeman, we know our pass rush was horrible. Our sack leader was Deion Jones, our middle linebacker. Right? All right. So it makes sense. I'm not saying the Falcons are going to draft a pass rusher at 4, because they very well they could draft Micah Parsons, or they could draft Penny Sewell out of Oregon. You know, that's another good pick. Or they may throw a wrench at us and reach and get Najee Harris, running back, because we don't have a run game here in Atlanta. And Arthur Smith, he says that he wants to be a physical team. Now, we bought that physical term from Dan Quinn era, and we knew he didn't even know what physical mean. But you saw what he did in Tennessee. That's a physical football team, right or wrong?
Right.
All right. So when you talk about physical and you talking about the identity of being physical, it doesn't sound like we're drafting a quarterback. Not a Justin Fields, not a Zach Wilson, none of those guys. Now, what we could do, and I agree with some people, and I feel like the Falcons would draft a quarterback in this draft, but it won't be in the first round. Second round, third round, could be. Later on in the draft, yes, because you need someone really behind Matt Ryan. I don't think, and I love Kurt, but I just don't see him as a second string quarterback. I just don't. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. But he needs a solid backup. He does. Now, for everybody, hold on. What's good, y'all? How y'all doing today? Thank y'all for joining me. I'm talking to Aaron Freeman from Locked On Falcons. Ultra Shadow said the Falcons don't have to draft a quarterback this year. They can wait the next year to do so. What's the rush? I'm going to get to you in a minute, Ultra Shadow. Here's my take on it, and I'm going to finish what I need to say. You can draft someone in the middle rounds and be a solid backup. Now, what you want for an aging quarterback, and this is what they did with Drew Brees, and this is what they did to Aaron Rodgers. And they've been doing this for Brady for years when he was out there in New England. They gave this man a run game. Not only giving these guys a good defense so they can get back on the field and score more points, but they gave them a run game. They did it with Breeze by giving him Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. They did it with Brady, running the ball with guys like LeGarrette Blount, drafting Sony Michel and those guys. They did it with, like I said, Aaron Rodgers, bringing that run game up there. Shots out to Nathaniel Hackett for bringing that up there to him, because LaFleur, we know he's a good passing coordinator, but he's not good with the run game, and Hackett helped him be more of a balanced play caller up there in Green Bay. So what you want for your aging quarterback is to have less reps. Less is more, in my opinion. Less is more. The less your quarterback has to do, the more productivity he will have, and the longevity will continue. You adding more time on his career. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Okay. So you right, Ultra Shadow. We can draft a quarterback next year. Like everybody thinking that, well, we're not picking high like this ever again. Well, guys, teams every single year, they always move up and down the draft. We did this, and guess what? In 2001, we was picking fifth. We was picking fifth in 2001. What did we do? We traded down with the San Diego Chargers, and we got the first overall pick, and we drafted Mike Vick. We did this with Julio. We weren't picking 6 that year. We was picking in the 20s because we was a playoff team. Always move in the draft, you guys. Guess what? There will always be good quarterbacks come out each and every year.
That is true.
Right. Go ahead, Aaron Freeman. I'm gonna let you talk for a little bit, man. I don't want to take up the whole time, man.
No, appreciate that. I would respond with, the whole point of the regime change. The example you use with the Colts, Andrew Luck wasn't a 36-year-old quarterback coming off of, 3 non-playoff seasons. And I think that's the part of the equation where there is a precedent for teams to draft a quarterback at this point. Matt Ryan and the Falcons have missed the playoffs 6 out of the last 8 years. The Giants missed the playoffs with Eli Manning 6 out of the last 8 years before they took Daniel Jones, number 6 overall, 2 years ago. The Chargers missed the playoffs 7 out of 9 years before they decided to move on from Phillip Rivers and draft Justin Herbert, I think 6 overall last year. So I feel like those indications are the reason why the Falcons may be compelled. And again, let me be clear. I don't know what's going to happen. It's a new regime. They have whatever they're going to think. It's a weird off season. Hopefully COVID won't be as big an issue when it comes to this off season as it was last off season. But we already know that COVID is disrupting how teams are going to prepare for the draft with, basically them canceling the combine, and teams aren't really allowed to meet with players. They have to do Zoom interviews over pro days, and they can't bring them into their facilities. All those various factors, I have no idea how they're going to impact how teams evaluate players. So sitting here today saying, I think they'll do this, I think they'll do this. Look, I'm guessing. I'm throwing darts at a board based off of other teams' preferences, based off of what New Orleans did, what whoever did. So don't really have an idea. And certainly 6 weeks from now, 12 weeks from now, could be singing a completely different tune. But I look at it like this. I think the Falcons, I think there's a lot of pressure nowadays to get a certain type of quarterback that I don't think Matt Ryan is, right? Which is mobile, athletic, strong-armed. That's not a knock against Matt Ryan, but there's a lot of advantages to having that type of player. And when you look at Arthur Smith's offense, you see an offense that did a really good job with a player like that in Ryan Tannehill. A lot of people are excited, myself included, about what Arthur Smith will be able to do for Matt Ryan in this year and possibly next year. But at the same time, if you're excited about what Arthur Smith can do for Matt Ryan, you should equally be excited about what Arthur Smith could do for a Justin Fields or Trey Lance or Zach Wilson or any number of young quarterbacks that the Falcons could wind up acquiring this year, next year, or whenever. So, I look at it like this. I just think the circumstances make it a prime golden opportunity for the Falcons to snag a quarterback and have that guy stash and learn for a year. I think the benefit of picking 4 is that you're probably not going to get the best quarterback in this draft class because Trevor Lawrence is that guy. You may not even get the second or third best quarterback in this draft class. But I think the value of Matt Ryan at this point in time is you can take a risk on a relatively, low floor, high ceiling type of player, whether that's a Justin Fields, whether that's a Trey Lance, whether that's whoever. And you can stash that guy on your bench for 1 or 2 years, let him learn this system so that at a point when you're ready to turn the page, which I think is going to happen sooner than some people would like it to believe, you'll have that guy ready to go. And I feel like those circumstances have sort of aligned. The stars have aligned, as they say. And I feel like it's a perfect opportunity for the Falcons. If they decide to pass on that opportunity, I'll understand it. Matt Ryan's still a good quarterback. The Falcons can still be a very competitive team for the very near future with Matt Ryan as a quarterback. But at the same time, I don't think this team is going to be beholden like the previous regime was to needing to make the playoffs this year. This is like the first time since 2008 where there's reasonable expectations that if the Falcons don't make the playoffs for the first time since 2008, Matt Ryan's rookie season, that people aren't going to sit here and be as negative towards this coaching staff as they would have been to any of the previous coaching staffs over the last 12, 13 years. So I feel like because of that, the pressure is off you to have to draft a player, whether first round, second round, whenever, that is immediately going to make this team into a great team. And so you can take a risk, so to speak, on, a quarterback that's going to be a little bit more of a developmental prospect.
All right, so this pretty much, and I'm not talking about just you, this kills some other people's argument too. We said that the best quarterback in this draft right now is Trevor Lawrence. So why would you want to get the third, fourth best quarterback? All right, and we know quarterbacks are it's a crapshoot. It is a crapshoot. You do not know who are you drafting. You do not know this. All right. And we've seen what Matt Ryan can. Matt Ryan is still a good quarterback. All right. Like everybody keep bringing up his age. Well, guess what? There were 5 to 6 quarterbacks older than Matt Ryan that was in the playoffs. Next. All right. Well, he ain't got the arm. Well, he's accurate. And he may not got the strongest arm in the NFL, but he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks there is. All right. And going back to what I've been saying is you get this man a run game and a defense. That's what we need. And you can't blame people keep blaming Matt Ryan. It's been our coaching. It's been the coaching staff. All right. Arthur Smith came in and said that they're going to tailor to Matt Ryan's strengths. Any thoughts on any take on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a judgment for me, at least, and maybe for others. It's not a judgment on Matt Ryan. I don't think there's any compelling reason to be in the business of hitching your wagon to a 36-year-old quarterback in this day and age in the NFL. Like, it's not to say that Matt Ryan isn't capable of making this team competitive. He's proven that across 12, 13 years. But it's just one of those things where it's like things are going in a different direction. And to me, when you look at those teams that are successful with those older quarterbacks, they have much better teams than the Falcons are. And the reality is the time it's going to take you to build that type of team, Matt Ryan's going to be a much older quarterback, and you're going to still be in the same situation that some of these teams are, where you're looking at New Orleans. What's the biggest reason why the Saints have not won a Super Bowl the last 4 years? It's arguably the quarterback, because their quarterback just limits their ability to be an explosive offense. You look at the Steelers. The Steelers had the best defense in the league. What's the reason why the Steelers are not playing the Super Bowl this year? It's arguably the quarterback, because Ben Roethlisberger just kind of has been a decent quarterback, but nothing special these last 4 years. And you look at Tom Brady. Well, look, again, this is not a knock on Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan's not Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady is different. He's just a different dude. He's arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. And look, I love you some Matt Ryan, but
he has tripped over team. Like, he's been on New England. All right. New England always put up a top 10 defense when he was there in New England. A few years they probably did not. But they gave everything to Tom Brady for him to succeed. You have an elite coaching staff. You have a good defense. You have a good special teams. You have a great offensive line. You can sit in the pocket and doggone have a 10-minute conversation with your wife before you throw the ball down the field. He had that. Matt Ryan has yet to have a good line. We have yet to see above average defense consistently. Okay. We have not seen that yet. And going back to what everybody's saying, that draft a quarterback and let him sit. We just seen Green Bay just do this, right? They drafted Jordan Love, right?
Yeah.
And he sat. All right, cool. I understand that. But guess what? They could have used that pick on a defensive player that could have pretty much helped them in that game this past Sunday. Like, they only played one player. They kept all their draft picks, and they only played one player. One. That's ridiculous. When you draft your players, first off, we know about development, but you have to start these guys. And when you drafting a first round pick, they are there to start. They're not there to just sit. We've seen Pat Mahomes sit most of 2017. I get it. You had Alex Smith. Alex Smith is not a bum. All right. So he didn't really have to start right away. I get it. But the Falcons right now, we have a lot of deficiencies on defense. Like I said, we need pass rushers. We need safeties. We don't even know what's going to happen with Keanu Neal. Ricardo Allen's not coming back. I don't think they're going to give KZ a contract. So who else are you going to put at that safety spot? And this, I've been asking people this question. And you got a big old gaping hole at left guard, and then we don't even know what the run game is going to look like. So those right there are questions that needs to be addressed this offseason. I'm not really worried about a quarterback unless you trying to get somebody to back Matt Ryan up. Like I said, a few years down the road, you have good quarterbacks coming out of the league. You got the dude from Oklahoma who's going to probably come out of 2022. All right? That's somebody that if Matt Ryan just doesn't fit the scheme of Arthur Smith in 2021, then yes, we need to raise the question of, we may need to get rid of Matt Ryan. But I'm just telling people to just hold on. We've seen Matt Ryan adjust to different OCs. Now we can all come to a consensus, and if we can't come to a consensus, y'all smoking some good stuff. Dirk Cutter was never a good play caller.
Yeah.
So that right there is these past couple of years of Matt Ryan is outliers. Like, do not look at that. Just do not. And like I said, Dirk Cutter is not a good play caller. I don't even think he wanted to work because the man said he was trying to retire 2 years ago, and then we just brought him back out of retirement. We should have just let the man retire. What's good, Matt? Mike? He said, Aaron Freeman, is it smart to stash a quick QB away? Matt Ryan is learning under Arthur Smith's playbook. I just pretty much answered that question. But go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? I would sit here and say, like, you mentioned sort of all the things that Tom Brady had around him. And I don't think that helps the argument for Matt Ryan, because basically if we're sitting here saying, look at Tom Brady's success, but then look at the fact that New England had all this talent around him. Look at the fact that Tampa Bay, this is a top 5 defense, a top 5 offensive line, top 5 weapons and wide receivers. I don't sit there and say that that's something that, like, that to me makes it seem like, well, that's a high mountain to climb to sort of establish a similar thing to put around Matt Ryan. I would agree 1,000% with anybody who says, hey, if we had that, then, Matt Ryan would be just as good as Tom Brady and whatnot. And like, cool. Like, sure, let's say that. But at the same time, like, how long is it going to take for the Falcons to build all that, given all the holes? And I think right now, you're right. The Falcons have a lot of holes, and I could certainly understand and be completely justified if the Falcons as an organization went into this offseason saying, look, we got to address all these other issues. We will punt the quarterback position to next year. We'll draft a guy on day 2, day 3 of the draft, and we'll worry about it next year. We'll give Matt Ryan a year to see how he does in this offense, and then we'll make a more permanent decision potentially next offseason. That is 100,000% justified in my eyes. But at the same time, I think the fact that the Falcons have so many issues actually gives them freedom to be able to basically say, look, we're not going to solve all these problems in one offseason. So there's no point in even trying. This is going to be a 2 or 3 year process. And if that, if we have an opportunity to solve one of potentially the biggest obstacles that this team is going to have to solve long-term at the quarterback position, and if you hit on the right quarterback, and again, that's a big if, it's a coin toss at best. If you hit on the right quarterback, you've solved that problem similarly to as we've done with Matt Ryan for the next 15 years. And so that's a big weight off your shoulder as a new regime, where eventually you're going to have to answer that question, whether it's a year from now, whether it's 5 years from now, you have to answer that question. And if you have an opportunity to basically check that item off the list, that makes every other problem that this Falcon team has to address and overcome infinitely easier. So I feel like this is a golden opportunity for the Falcons to solve that problem. If Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith disagree with him, like, I understand that. I certainly understand why other Falcon fans don't agree with that, but to me, it's just a matter of perspective.
Let me put it away. I want y'all to see this. All right, now, new quarterback is gonna happen. I know this. Matt Ryan is not gonna play to 65. I get it. But what I want us to do as a Atlanta Falcons fan, I want us to not make the same mistakes that we did under Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan came to a team, okay, that was pretty much the laughingstock of the league. All right. We didn't even know what we were going to do in 2008 and beyond because we just lost Vic. All right. And we lost some other players as well. This man came into a team very just uncertain, no identity, nothing. All right. And yes, offense looked good. What about the defense side of the ball? Not so good. All right. What we can do, and this is what I've been trying to tell people. This is why I've been focusing on defense. Build a defense. Build a defense. This is what the Steelers did under Roethlisberger. You build your defense because that's what the Steelers did. They built them a defense before Roethlisberger got there. All right. Build your defense up, and then you get you a quarterback. You know, when the time is right. Right now, I feel like the time is not right to just get a quarterback right now. We got too many deficiencies on defense. Fix your defense up. Try to get your defense above average this year. Try to get it top 10 the year after. And then when you're a top 10 unit, you get you a quarterback. Guess what? Your young quarterback has a defense that can back him up if he make mistakes. Because you know young quarterbacks, they're gonna turn the ball over.
I hear you that.
And this is why I'm Cam Marino and all these other guys on yes, I'm gonna say their names. But what's good, man, Mike? You build a defense up first before you go in and draft a young quarterback. That way your young quarterback won't have to struggle. He has a complete team around him. Right now, the Falcons is not a complete team. It's just Matt Ryan and the offense.
I agree. But I would say not taking a quarterback is not going to make you a complete team. Again, I think that's a process that's going to take a number of off seasons for this team to get there. And so drafting a quarterback number one is not going to stop that process from happening. It's not really going to slow down that process because you're going to need cap space. You're going to need multiple draft picks across multiple years to solve that problem. And one pick is not going to make or break that.
That you right, but you also can be wrong as well because, like I said, the problem with the Falcons has been coaching. We don't even know what we have on defense. We don't even know if Mekhi Walker could be the next best thing in the NFL because they haven't had the proper tutelage to coach them up. Same thing with Sheffield and Oliver.
How you guys are doing, man? Just want to say to Aaron Freeman, man, kind of happy to kind of have an opportunity to sit down with you. You know, I've always admired your work. Just want to state that first and foremost. So, but I wanted to come on shortly for one thing that I think what a lot of people are not taking in consideration is I've always been an advocate for the system first. When you're bringing in a new regime and you have a quarterback, typically there's a quarterback that he's either a veteran, he's been with Arthur Smith, he's been with the quarterback's coach, or someone on the staff. And this is why I say the issues are for the Atlanta Falcons as far as the drafting a young quarterback. I think it for the most part, it lessens the idea of them taking a quarterback because you don't have a guy currently on the staff that hasn't been with me. So I think for the most part, man, when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, you see, and this is why the question I posed to you is like, do you think it's a smart thing to stash a quarterback away when you have these issues? When you have Matt Ryan, who hasn't had the opportunity to learn Arthur Smith's system, is that really a smart? I don't think that's a smart idea. I don't think that's a smart idea to stash a quarterback away and essentially, throwing away a draft pick. You essentially throwing away a draft pick to let a guy sit behind a guy that doesn't know the offense. So for me personally, I want to know what you guys think about that as far as stashing the quarterback when your starting quarterback doesn't necessarily know who and what the offense is going to be, because they have yet to sit down and say, Matt Ryan, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to, you know, how we're going to cater the offense to you, Julio, Hayden Hurst and all these guys. So I think it will be a huge mistake for them to draft a young quarterback that high at 4 to say, okay, we're going to stash you for 2 years. Matt Ryan is going to learn, because we don't know that if this offense is going to be a difficult offense to pick up. This could be a difficult offense to pick up. We don't know that. So for them to have a quarterback that high and Matt Ryan doesn't know what this offense is going to be, I think that'd be a huge mistake, and it actually set the Falcons back. I don't know what you guys think.
Here's my thing. We have nobody on this coaching staff that has a history. Yes, we know Ragone has worked with quarterbacks, but who has he actually developed? Yes, he tried to develop Jake Locker, and Jake Locker just didn't get right. Trubisky, but that he doesn't have a track record of developing quarterbacks. All right, and then you have a running backs coach who just got promoted to a quarterback position, to a quarterback's coach position. So we don't have a guy like a Bill Musgrave that Matt Ryan had, who was proven, by the way, of developing quarterbacks to develop a Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or Trey Lance. We just don't have that person on our staff right now. Maybe, we may just hire the guy to be a quarterback coach just for now, because Smith didn't get what he wanted this season, because you can always change up positional coaches each year. That's not an issue. You just got to wait till somebody come out and be available.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you guys make some good points, some interesting points. I guess for me, the place I'm at is I have watched the previous regime in Thomas Dimitroff continually punt issues down the road. They did this with Tony Gonzalez when they acquired Tony Gonzalez. They knew in 2010, right, a year after trading for Tony Gonzalez, that they needed to find a replacement for Tony Gonzalez. And they basically punted for the next 3 years until Tony Gonzalez came to them and said, look, in 2013, this is my final year. I'm not coming back next year. And they were like, I guess we have to take a tight end. They wound up taking Levine Toilolo. That didn't work out. And then 3 years later, they finally got Austin Hooper, and finally they had an heir apparent. It took them 6 years to find that guy. They did not draft or invest really any resources in the wide receiver position for many, many years, outside of basically trading all those picks to get Julio Jones in 2011. And they paid Roddy White in 2013 with the idea of, like, Roddy White's going to play forever for Atlanta. And he got hurt just like Julio Jones that season. And basically they paid him, and Roddy White had 6 more good games with the Falcons for the next 3 years. And a big reason why the team tanked in 2013, and I think in 2014, and their offense struggled in 2015, was because they didn't have an adequate replacement for Roddy White when he hit the end of his career. We kind of saw this issue spring up again this past year with Julio Jones, right? You also have the issue of the offensive line, that Dan Quinn came in here in 2015, and they basically like, we're just going to go with veteran guys, Alex Mack, Andy Levitre, Chris Chester, Brandon Fusco, Jamon Brown, James Carpenter, and they basically punted for 4 years at the offensive line position until they couldn't do it anymore going into 2019. They drafted 2 young players, and then suddenly it didn't magically fix the problem immediately, and they had to go through a lot of growing pains with one of the worst offensive lines we've seen in Falcons history in 2019 before things started to get a little bit better. The point of me saying all that is I've watched this regime for 12 years keep punting and punting and punting and saying it's not a problem right now. We have bigger fish to fry. Run game, defense, you're absolutely right. 1,000% right. Those are bigger issues on the Falcons roster right now. But my hope is with the new regime under Terry Fontenot that they're not going to do that anymore. They don't have the pressure of trying to win last year. The fixing 2020 Falcons, that ship has sailed. trying to fix the mistakes and make good the mistakes of Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff, they're not beholden to that. So I feel like they have the flexibility, they have the freedom that if they want to look towards the future and say, look, if that means we're going to go 6-10 this year and Matt Ryan's final year in the Falcons, then so be it. But if that's going to get us one step closer to being a 12-4 team in 2023 or the 12-4 team in 2024 or whenever, then that to me is the right decision long-term for this football team. And if they don't go in that direction, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to lose any sleep over the Falcons waiting till round 4 to take a quarterback. But to me, I think they have a golden opportunity to take one at 4 overall.
Here's my thing. All right, you just pretty much said something and like about – not fixing the problems, not addressing the problems. The biggest problem is the trenches. And it always have been the offensive line and the defensive line. We're not protecting Matt Ryan. We're not opening holes for our running backs to run. And we're not getting to the quarterback. And in some games, we're not stopping the run. All right. That has always been an issue. Those are to me, you fix those problems first. And then you focus on other positional players like the quarterback and the receivers and things of that nature. Go ahead, man.
This is everyone is making excellent points, but one thing that I continue to say, if you watch my show, and I continue to state this, is that we're saying about players here, players there. We didn't replace this guy, we didn't have a guy, but the one consistent issue, the most consistent issue with the Atlanta Falcons is that from year to year, the scheme seems to change. Every year, we wonder, why are we not using the 3-4? Or we're a 3-4 team this year. We're 5-2. We're running 4-3 under. We're running 4. We're cover 3. We're man to man. We're zone. Every year on the defensive side of the ball, we have absolutely no clue what we're doing. And this is, you have to have a consistent vision. You have to have a consistent scheme.
You don't have an identity. We don't have an identity. We never
have
identity.
No identity. The offensive line from I believe it was after 2012, they decided they want to go back to a more of a power run game, and then they got these guys. They got these big guys that couldn't move, and they were trying to run the exact same scheme with guys that didn't fit the scheme. And this is why I say I don't think the issue is with player development. I don't think the issue is even with a lot of the coaching. I think the issue is with decision making. You have to make the decision. Are you going to be a West Coast offense? Are you going to be a spread offense? Are you going to be a 3-4 defense? Make a decision. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens have never changed who they are. They are a run-first, hard-nosed defense. That's what they do. They do not change their identity. So if the Falcons want to draft well, I don't care if it is a quarterback first. Stick to a scheme. That's the issue. So when it all comes down to it, I believe everyone is right. Everyone has valid points, but if we're going to be a consistent, and this is what Arthur Blank repeatedly states over and over again, we want to establish a winning culture first. So in order to have a winning culture, you have to decide what you are going to be. And that's what it all comes down to. It really just comes down to make a decision who you are going to be.
I agree. I think that's been a big issue for this team these last several years. They did not have an identity. And, I think establishing that first and building towards that, I think it's a big part of what will make this new regime successful in the long term. Because I feel like when we go back and we look at Thomas Dimitroff, whether we're looking at Mike Smith, whether we're looking at Dan Quinn, they came in with big ideas and saying, we're going to be this type of team, right? Mike Smith, we're going to be a physical, a disciplined, smart team. We got Michael Turner. We're going to run the football. And then, as time wore on, Michael Turner started to lose, his ability. Mm-hmm. Matt Ryan was growing as a quarterback. So it made sense to, give Matt Ryan the bigger reins of the offense. But at the same time, they lost that identity of being that sort of physical team and never really fully recovered it. Dan Quinn comes in, we're going to be a fast, physical, defensive-minded team with a strong run game, an explosive offense, all these various things. They brought in Kyle Shanahan. They were able to establish that, go to the Super Bowl. The defense looked like it was coming up big. But then they kind of lost that after, Kyle Shanahan left. Couldn't find a play caller that could restore that type of offense. And their defense, they kind of stopped building their defense. They were like, oh, we've already added all the players that we need, the playmakers we need. And we know that in order to make a Dan Quinn defense work, is because they're going to play so much zone, you got to be able to get pressure with 4 guys. They thought, hey, we just drafted Grady Jarrett, we drafted Vic Beasley, we drafted Taft McKinley. We'll be able to get pressure with just these 4 guys. We know that did not come to fruition. So I feel like the Falcons have historically taken their foot off the gas in terms of their identity. I agree 1,000% with you, Mad Mike, that if this regime is going to be successful, they have to establish that identity. If that identity is we're going to be a physical, run-first football team, we're going to run a lot of play action, as we did in Tennessee. We're going to get our version of Derrick Henry or something like that, and we're going to be that sort of ground and pound team, then great, awesome. And ultimately if that's the case, and that's going to be how you rely your offense on, then maybe the quarterback conversation isn't as important long-term there. And defensively, we know what Dean Pease is. He's a long continued tradition of what the Ravens have been. You talk about that stability in Baltimore. John Harbaugh, Ozzie Newsome, all those guys for the last 20 years have basically said this is how we're going to do things in Baltimore. And hopefully Dean Pease can sort of establish that. We know he's not going to necessarily stick around long term, given his age. He's already retired once. But you expect Arthur Smith to whether it's replacing Dean Pease a year from now, 2 years from now, or whatever the case may be, he's going to bring in somebody else or promote somebody from within that's going to continue that tradition, and you hope the team can build towards it long term. So I agree with you 1,000% on that. For the long-term future of this football team, finding and establishing that identity and building towards it and continue to build toward it. Don't do what Dimitroff did and basically stop after 3 years and be like, we drafted all the good players that we've needed to be able to, and now we just kind of need to coast. And, we just need that one piece. And with Mike Smith, it was Julio Jones. We just need the one piece to get us over the top. With Dan Quinn, I don't even know who that, I guess it was Brandon Fusco or whoever it was that they thought was going to,
Fusco.
Whoever they thought was going to be that last piece of the puzzle for them. No, I guess it would be Calvin Ridley. Funnily enough, it's always wide receivers, right? So
because we was a finesse team. That's what we wanted. That's what he wanted to do. That's what Dimitroff wanted to do. He wanted to be this offensive juggernaut. Fortnite, like he's gonna have the same. He's gonna share the same identity with Arthur Smith. And we're in this cap situation. We're in a bad cap situation, as we all know. I feel like he's going to try to fix whatever he can. These guys that's on these 1-year deals, if he can try to negotiate them for a less contract, he can do it because he's known for doing that in New Orleans, getting players for cheap. That are good players. So that's a plus for us. So we can't, like I said, we can't get a lot of players in free agency this year. We have to hit on these draft picks. And right now, the biggest issue, just looking at the team right now, is pass rush. The pass rush is the most important piece the most important question that we have to address this offseason. And after that, then you look at the who's going to be our future running back? Because in Arthur Smith's system, you have to have that future running back. I know we're not going to. There's no Derrick Henrys in the draft. There's no Derrick Henrys going into the free agency. But you got a Javonte Williams out there from North Carolina. You got Najee Harris. You got other running backs out there as well who can fit this system of what Arthur Smith's trying to do. So to me, physical is you going to fix the trenches and you getting your running back. That's what I get out of it.
Yeah. I guess for me, like I look at it, and we'll see how. Again, I told you, Don, before we started recording. I've barely scratched the surface of this draft class, so take, I guess, what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. I guess for me, when it goes back to the quarterback conversation, I feel like you can address some of those issues without having to use that number 1 pick on it. I feel like you'll have an opportunity to get a running back on day 2 that can be that feature guy. I think you'll have an opportunity to sign someone in free agency that could sort of help bridge the gap between that running back and in the future. I think you'll be able to hopefully address the left guard position and hopefully solve that problem in free agency. I don't think the Falcons going to have a ton of money to spend, but I do think they'll have enough to address some of the key problems. And whether that's left guard, whether that's some of the issues in the secondary, whether that's, replacing or upgrading Dante Fowler, I think they'll have enough money to get, 2 or 3 key free agents that can really go a long way to solving their problems that potentially, we'll see, give you the freedom to be a little bit more of taking that best player available approach at the top of the draft, where you don't have to feel beholden as you've done in previous regimes where you feel like we have to go and solve our biggest need going into draft. And that's led to, I think, a lot of the problems that the Falcons have had the last couple of years because they've been too reliant on rookies to have to come in immediately and step in and be difference makers for them. And we know, rookies, you get a couple of guys every now and then that are good. AJ Terrell had a very good rookie season, but AJ Terrell is not necessarily going to solve your secondary issues, as we saw where the Falcons had still plenty of issues because he's just one of 5 players that you need to play well in the secondary. And, if 80% of your secondary is not doing well, or 60%, because we know Keanu Neal played very well this year, but if 60% of your secondary is not playing well, then it doesn't matter how good AJ Terrell or whoever your pick is. You can draft the next Deion Sanders, and teams are still just going to pick apart the rest of your secondary. So
that not having a pass rush, and then you're playing a scheme that people figured out. Cover 3. Yeah, all that. You mix all that in, it's a disaster. So
a disaster.
So, you guys, we know that one pick is not going to fix this team. And this is what I've been saying, you guys. Like, drafting, it doesn't matter if it's Micah Parsons, Justin Fields, Penny Sewell. It's like none of that's going to come in here. They want to fix us. The main thing that's going to help the Falcons get back to the playoffs is this coaching staff with Arthur Smith and the staff that he brought in. Is this staff legit enough to get these players playing at a high level to get us into the playoffs? That is the question we need to be asking us. This is the question we need to be asking ourselves. Is this coaching staff going to be good enough to develop these guys and elevate them to play better than we did last year under the old team?
Or to just simplify, have a plan for because this is the first year for Arthur Smith. Mm-hmm. This is the first year for not only Arthur Smith, but P's. These guys are going to have, of course they have, I'm sure that they have a system in place where they can simplify the offense. And being that Matt Ryan is a veteran guy, you can run a little, more simplistic, systems as far as like use a lot of play action. Matt Ryan is and this is where I say that this season is up. You can possibly, in my opinion, go from a 4-win team to a 7 to 10 because you have a guy like Matt Ryan that's at the helm. He doesn't you don't have to do a lot of. He understands almost every offense that is pretty much in the NFL. He's been in spread. He's been in a West Coast, a run-first offense. He's done all of that. So they will have more opportunities to be able to experiment with a guy like Matt Ryan versus a young quarterback because he has that experience. And this is why I say, for me personally, I would much rather draft either a lineman or a defensive, or even trade down, because you have a quarterback like Matt Ryan, and it will help you to build a defense. Because the Falcons need a safety. They need a free safety. We don't know if Keanu Neal is willing to come back. We have no idea if he has any ill will towards his franchise and he just wants to get the hell away. Like, we have no idea what these guys are thinking.
Know what they want to do.
So we have no idea if these guys want to come back to Atlanta. So with those picks, man, like I said, me personally, I'm not going to, crap on the idea of drafting a quarterback. I hate the idea of drafting the 3rd and 4th best quarterback. Like, Like, if I'm going to draft at 4, I want Trevor Lawrence. If I can't get Trevor Lawrence, why the hell am I at 4? Like, let's be real. I want the best. Okay, let's just be real. I don't want Justin Fields the best. I don't want, Zach Wilson. I don't want those guys. I want Trevor Lawrence. So if I can't get Trevor Lawrence, and if I have Matt Ryan, Justin Fields, or Zach Wilson, I don't want either one. I'm keeping Matt Ryan because, like I said, I want the best. And if I can't get Trevor Lawrence, why the hell are we picking at 4? Why the hell are we picking at 4? So that's just me, man. That's just my opinion. And like I said, we have so much more to do as far as this team is concerned, man. This team, I've stated this also, is that this team has been outdated offensively and defensively for far too long. And Dirk Cutter was the absolute worst thing that this team needed. He is old-fashioned. He's old-fashioned, and he is not creative. This team needs the defense and the offense needs a facelift, and that's essentially what it comes down to.
Yeah, we just retooling. We retooling, man. We just bringing in a different voice on teaching these guys how to play, because the way they were playing, but they were playing entirely wrong. Because the people that was here, they didn't teach them the right way. So it's like I said, we sat here, we watch film all the time, all right, and you can tell the route designs by Dirk Cutter just didn't make absolutely sense.
My God, don't get me started on that crap.
Like,
oh my Jesus.
Playing cover 3, seeing teams pick us apart, we're not making any adjustments to try to stop them. Like, all that right there goes to coaching, man.
We're playing that Harry Potter defense. We're playing the Harry Potter defense. We're gonna wave our damn wands and we're gonna get an interception. We're gonna wave our freaking wands and get a sack. Like, no, bro. Like, let's stop. Let's get after these guys. Let's blitz. Let's send a corner. Let's send Debo. Let's send someone. Like, the Falcons is just. I really did love Dan Quinn, but to see those guys over and over and over again play that cover 3 and wish that we get a sack and wish that we make something happen, that just drove me crazy.
Wish the opposing team get a false start or a doggone penalty or holding call. Yeah, like that was crazy. Like I said, man, it's time for us to really build this defense and stop playing around, man, because everybody keeps saying that it's the offensive league, but you look at these, and I told Cam yesterday, you look at these Super Bowl teams, they won with a quarterback or whatever, but they had a defense to back that up. We need a complete team here. You're not gonna have a complete team. We're going to continue to go 7-9 and go 6-10, and whatever. I know we're going to be playing a couple more games next year, but still, you get the picture. Like, we have to fill the needs of this team this year. And then once we see, because I feel like we're going to improve. Will we make the playoffs next year? I don't know. But hell, if we can win more than 4 games, that's an improvement.
Yeah.
That's an improvement. So, and if I can see our defense playing in at least above 16th in the league.
Man, show some heart. I'm so sick, and I love Grady Jarrett. I'm so sick of looking at the sidelines and not one freaking defensive player is yelling. No one is upset.
Ain't nobody mad. Everybody just sitting there just looking like.
What's I'm gonna get paid? I'm gonna get $10 million this week. Like, I'm so sick of that crap. Like I said, man. I'm not a component of one side of the ball. I just want to see a better philosophy and just stick to that philosophy. I don't care if we draft a quarterback. I don't care if we draft a running back. I don't give a damn if it's a damn punter we draft with the first pick. Stick to a damn philosophy for once, okay? That's what drove me crazy with looking, seeing Thomas Dimitrov. He always wanted one thing that he wanted to do, and Aaron Freeman said it. He wanted to constantly draft wide receivers.
Stick to an identity and perfect it. You cannot perfect anything. You keep moving here and there. Stick to one identity and perfect it.
And just perfect it. That's
That's
it.
it.
Just stick to it. So like I said, man, I really do appreciate coming on, man. Like I said, Freeman, man, I've been following you for a while. I enjoy all your work. You're one of the better ones out there. And I'm not too, you know, kind of a man to admit that. I really appreciate it, man. So Don, y'all keep doing a great job, man, and keep making great content, giving the
Yeah,
Falcons fans exactly what they need, man. Nothing
appreciate
but
you.
the truth.
And appreciate you, Aaron Freeman, man, for coming on. Like I say, man, we try to. I don't like going back and forth on Twitter with people, especially content creators. You're a content creator, you should be, willing enough to come on the show, make time to come on the show and talk things out. This is why I respect you. This is why I respect Eric Robinson from Falcaholic. This is why I respect Jansen, the up and coming journalist or whatever. You guys will actually answer and reply back to us to come on shows instead of hiding and we're not always gonna see eye to eye. That's the
Right.
thing. You see things different from and that's what make Atlanta Falcons content great. Because if we all think the same, it'd be so vanilla and boring. So this is why, like I say, I have a lot of respect for you. I do. It just like I said, the other people out there, like I said, we don't never shy away from or never turn anybody down. So I really appreciate you taking time out your day once again, coming on the show and talking.
I appreciate you guys having me. I know Mad Mike, you've been trying to get at me.
We gonna have that day. You coming on Mad Mike?
Right.
You coming on
right.
Mad Mike
look,
towards the Atlanta Falcons Nation?
I'm always here. Hit me up. Shoot me a DM or whatever. I'll be there. I do appreciate you guys having me on. I do agree with you. The back and forth on Twitter is tedious, and we're not going to always agree on things. And having the respect for one another to be able to discuss them calmly and debate the issues without it sort of getting personal and all these various things is just, I really enjoy having that conversation. So I enjoy the opportunity and platform to express my views. I enjoy the opportunity to hear your views, and certainly, it will inform my future opinions about things. And, if people want to hear more of my opinions, of course, they can always check me out on Twitter at FalFans and, of course, daily on Locked On Falcons. But I do appreciate you guys having me.
Let me say you this. I got to tell you this, though. A lot of people don't know. You probably don't know this, but I started my draft board 2015, I believe it was. I was a frequent visitor to your site, FalcFans.com, and I designed my draft board based off your drafts. I went there, I copied everything. I modeled everything off of you. So that right there, something that I've never told you, I've never told anyone. But trust me, man, like I said, I got nothing but respect and I got nothing but love for you. So, man, you keep doing your thing. We're going to keep doing our thing. We're going to continue to grow together, man. So I appreciate everybody, man.
All right, man. I appreciate that. FalcFans.com's no more. So I do like that, maybe it's got a little bit of a legacy out there.
Right.
It pretty much promoted other people to do their own things too, man. Because like I said, you was one of the first to do it, and on a bigger scale. And that got me, going at it, and now you got so many Falcons content creators out there now. So hey, we got to just keep on putting stuff out there, man, and just giving people facts. Like I trust and believe. I have a lot of feelings inside of me about this team, but guess what? I keep it to myself. I keep it to myself. So
look, if FalcFans.com's legacy is people saw the website and said, look, I can make a better website than this. I can put out better content than this. Then look, I'll take that. I'll take whatever I can get with that. So I appreciate that, guys.
No problem. Thank you. Man. And appreciate everybody who watching this live this afternoon. Y'all watching this on a later time, please. What's good, Ju? You next, man. I'm about to ask you to come on the show soon. So, but yeah, if y'all watching this at a later time, hit us up in the comment section. Let us know what y'all thoughts on should we get a quarterback or not, or what do we need to do with the pick. Honestly, I think we should trade down and just get more draft capital. That's just my opinion. But stay tuned tonight. We will be covering Patrick Surtain II on our draft prospect show tonight at 8:30. So please be there tonight. If you're new to the channel, y'all already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Also hit that like button. Share this content out with Atlanta Sports Fanatics. And hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast. This is your boy, The Don, with another episode of The Don's Favorite here on Forever I Love Atlanta Sports Podcast. Y'all have a great evening, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Hey.